In today's BizWatch, China cuts export tax rebates for over 2,000 products. How financial services organizations are battling now to retain staff as the industry booms. And it's a tricky task for banks to find human resources in a new market like China.
They know the market, have the experience, understand the language, understand the culture and so forth. The disadvantage could be that
Hello and welcome to this edition of BizWatch. I'm Qin Yi. First, let's have a recap of major business news in China. Starting July 1st, China will abolish export tax rebates on 553 high-energy consuming and highly polluting products. It will also reduce the rebates for over 2,000 commodities that tend to cause trade friction. The move aims to suppress overheated export growth and ease trade frictions between China and its trade partners. China will fine 8 major banks as much as 4 million yuan for illegally lending billions of yuan to companies for stock and other improper investments. The violators include Shanghai branches of 6 banks and Beijing branches of 2 banks. Regulators prohibit Chinese banks from funding stock purchases for fear that a market downturn will lead to non-performing loans. And also starting July, Shanghai will raise the benchmark for its public housing fund. The upper limit will be set at 1,034 yuan and the lowest at 106 yuan. And for the first time, the city's migrant workers are listed as one of the compulsory groups to be covered by the fund. And still to come on BizWatch, how are financial services companies holding on to staff as the job market rages? In this week's highlight, we investigate how financial services institutions structure salaries to optimize costs and reduce staff turnover. We'll also talk to an executive from Swedbank about foreign banks' recruitment strategy upon their entry to China. A recent report on industry salary levels shows that a securities analyst with 5 years of experience was able to earn as much as 550,000 yuan in the year of 2006. And as the bullish stock market continues, salaries are expected to rise by another 10% this year. This week, Cai Jue investigates how investment management companies optimize their performance while keeping staff turnover to a minimum.
Lee's fund company was set up at the end of 2005 with only 30 staff. Now the company manages $1 billion and the number of employees has nearly tripled to 88. Lee says he expects that the number will rise to 100 within the year.
Investment management industry is a people industry, as we always call it. It's people's cost. It's the number one highest cost of all the operating costs that we have. It usually account about 40 to 50% of the total cost.
Salaries in this business are composed of 2 parts, a basic salary and a bonus, which is based on the individual performance.
In booming periods like now, it's not uncommon for fund managers to obtain 60% of their income as a bonus. The income of good managers could be 2 or 3 times that of those who perform below the average.
The securities fund business in China is only about 5 years old, but as it grows, staff with experience are much in demand. Nearly 80% of Lee's staff are senior employees with several years' experience. As the industry booms, staff turnover is predicted to rise to as much as 20%, resulting in substantial losses for employers. Companies would rather allocate bigger budgets to retain staff.
An average training per year in the last year for our side is 60 hours. For the more experienced people, tend to have 5 or 6 experience, we will tend to provide more of classroom training, theory training. We hire an external consultant to train them, and we also give them exposure to overseas training.
A 2-day course in Hong Kong for financial professionals could cost as much as $4,000, excluding the travel expenses. Experts say that training budgets for financial companies can add up to tens of millions of yuan. On the other hand, during bearish periods, taking on fresh graduates and giving them cheaper on-the-job training can be a cost-effective option.
With a couple of thousand in salary, new graduates can be trained to fit the company culture and be more loyal to the company.
An interesting finding by MERN is that graduates with overseas degrees are usually offered the same starting salary as their local counterparts. However, they are preferred by employers as they adjust more quickly to the pace of work.
The message from the business leaders is that the skills of graduates to work in teams in companies. So students who can debate, who can analyse, who can innovate, who can create, who can work in teams, multinational teams, they're the ones who are attractive to major companies.
Since 2001, the number of fund companies has increased to 54. Another 4 will soon be set up, which means 200 fund managers will be needed. Given the current bull market, experts predict that in 2007, the staff turnover rate could double the current 10%. They suggest that business owners look after their employees' career development in addition to their salaries. Cai Jue for BizWatch.